All right, remember, Hunt Palmer in studio every Friday with us. LSU baseball on the road this weekend for a 3-game set. The locals are melting after Tuesday's loss versus Southern. Where do you stand on that?
The result of the game is insignificant. The way it was played is because it happens too often with this team. They don't show up offensively. I mean, and it's happened against elite left-handed pitching, and it's happened against garbage midweek pitching, but they're not consistent enough on offense right now. And I don't know how much of it is fixable. Now, you can achieve a lot with a suspect offense if your pitching staff dominates, and LSU's not quite there yet, but there are going to be some games where this team doesn't show up offensively, and Tuesday was one of them.
Check out the latest edition of Gorilla Balls right now online at 1045ESPN.com. Weekly podcast looking at LSU. You can also check out Hunt and Hanny Outside the Box podcast. It's a weekly post there about LSU baseball. But Terrio and I were talking about this midweek stuff, and I posed the question to him, and I kind of posed it and said, I know how you're going to answer it, and he answered it totally different than I thought he would. He thinks that these midweek games and the way that they're performing over the last couple of years has been a big deal. It's kind of been a cumulative effect, that it's a mindset that you may not bring to the ballpark every day, and that can get you later in the year. I mean, do you think that this – I mean, we make it's a fun radio bit to talk about midweek games not mattering.
I mean, Kramer came on here yesterday and said that they don't matter.
And then
so that gives you insight into the team, though.
And then Terrio cut the podcast and said it does matter. You know, I mean, they're the same person. I mean, they played the same position. They've had the same amount of success. Terrio won a championship. Kramer played for one. They were both all SEC shortstops. One says it does. One says it doesn't. What do you mean? What do you think?
Well, I mean, sure, they matter. Like, it's not as if – but it doesn't – there are too many –
They matter, but it's not like they matter.
Well, there are too many games against high RPI teams and too many cumulative games in conference play that way outweigh them in terms of your resume. The thing that, and look, last Wednesday, Paul Maneri was not going to use any of his big-time relievers because they had a conference series coming up. So you're throwing Will Ripoll out there, and like that, you don't play them the same way. But the offense is the same, and the offense needs to perform better, and it has not in the midweek against guys who are not good pitchers. The guy Southern threw to start was not a good pitcher. The guy that McNeese threw was not a good pitcher. The guy from Northwestern State a few weeks ago, not a good pitcher. You need to hit those guys, and LSU has it, and that's because offensively there are some holes in this lineup, and if the top 4 or 5 guys don't carry the mail, they struggle. And so you play them differently. Paul Maneri manages them differently. It's a different environment. So to kind of encapsulate the whole thing, like, I don't really care if they win or lose on the midweek. If you lose 7 of them, that's a bit of a problem. You lose 4 of them, like, whatever.
The pitching last weekend, what did you make? Okay, Cole Henry. I mean, this guy, we ask you every week. He's got 2 on, gives up 2 in the first, and he strikes out 9 consecutive to work 8. He's only a freshman.
Well, we're only getting him 2 years, so soak it up. He's a draft-eligible sophomore, but he's got it figured out. I mean, the breaking ball is really sharp. He's got 95 in the tank when he needs it. And like you said, his demeanor is just – he's unflappable. He's unfazed by adversity that comes in early. It happened against Mississippi State. Happened again last weekend against Texas A&M. Gives up a couple runs early. Settles in. The next 7 innings, nothing. He didn't walk anybody.
Nothing.
That's – when you don't walk anybody and you throw 95 miles an hour with a good slider, a good curveball, you're going to get a lot of outs, and he does. And he is, right now, probably the best starter LSU's got going.
He's the closest to Nola I've seen. I hate to compare people to
Nola.
I mean,
Lang wasn't bad.
Lang was great, no doubt. But his mentality.
Yeah,
Lang showed you
right.
more. He showed you more
For
emotion
sure.
out there, and I didn't mean that because physically you're right. I mean, Nola and Lang were very comparable, but just like he's unfazed. I mean, it's almost like he's sitting out there just pitching like warm-ups.
Yeah, it's a lot of people would be upset when you hit the guy with the first pitch you throw, and then they hit a little dribbler that nobody can get to, and you got a couple guys on, and then they shoot one through the middle, and all of a sudden you've got a 2-0 deficit when you're playing for the series, against a high-profile team like Texas A&M, and he's just unfazed by it. And when he strikes somebody out to end the inning, he's not fist pumping or backpedaling off the mound, or he just kind of walks off, and that's what I'm supposed to do. And that is very Aaron Nola-ish in terms of his demeanor. Lang showed more emotion than that. You're right, but yeah, he's awesome right now. And I think I don't ever know these guys. I don't cover them day to day anymore, so you don't know what their personality is like and how they're wired. But he has got to feel so much confidence after going out there against some good offensive teams and pitching the way he has. Some people just have it automatically. They're just like, I'm the best guy out here. Give me the ball and I'll dominate. Some people need to see it happen. I don't know which way he's wired, but he's seeing it now, and he should feel like every time he takes the ball, he's got a chance to go deep into the game.
And last week, one of the interesting things they did with Cole Henry was move him to that game 3. Was that because of Asa Lacy and because they maybe thought that was going to be a losing proposition anyway? Was that because of the doubleheader? Like, how do you expect it to play in the weekends coming up?
So what we know is that Paul Mainieri said that they're going to flip-flop Walker and Henry for that doubleheader, and that he's not willing to say why, which tells me that he was
a little scared of Asa Lacy.
He thought that he'd have a huge event. He already had a win in his back pocket because they had won Friday. So I'm trying to win the series. If I got Henry versus TBA, that gives me a huge advantage. I believe he did flip it because of that.
So it's been a weird year for the pitching staff, Hunt, and that one of the main storylines has been kind of how shallow the staff is, right? You only have 12 arms, but in the actual SEC games, they look deeper than all of these other staffs because the 12 arms that you have are higher quality with guys like Marceau, and we'll get to him in his return, but with guys like Marceau, Hilliard's getting better and better. You know, Jaden Hillfax being Nick Storrs on the bump. How you feel about that? Like, how much can this staff, is it going to get even better as the year goes on?
That's the hope. I'm very skeptical when pitchers don't feel good at some point during the middle of the season. I can't recall enough guys who have sat for a month and come back and felt great and really helped and dominated. So it's possible. I just don't count on it. So for me to count on Marceau and to count on Hill and to count on Storrs, count on Costello, I'm not willing to go there. But, yeah, they are pretty deep in the pitching staff. I like the way this bullpen's shaking out. Obviously, Fontenot's been awesome. Got no cough button over here.
Look, it happens, man. I get it.
Fontenot's been awesome. They're going to go to him for more than 3 outs when they have a lead, especially in game 1 of a series. I really like the way Hilliard's throwing it. I think you can count on Beck, and I feel pretty good about the starting 3. When you look around the league right now, Ole Miss does not have a game 3 starter. Florida does not have a game 3 starter. Mississippi State does not have a game 3 starter. Texas A&M does not have a game 3 starter. Everyone's TBA around the league. Eric Walker's a competent guy, and you saw against Mississippi State what he can do. So this pitching staff's going to have to carry this team because they have some good hitters, but the lineup is flawed and it's inconsistent. But I like where the staff is, and hopefully, to answer your question, it gets a little bit better.
What about Marceau?
So he's not traveling this weekend. Is that because he pitched some innings on Tuesday, or is that because he doesn't feel good? Did we get an answer on that?
Head that he's too many innings.
Coach Mainieri said in his presser yesterday that it was too many.
Well, that makes me feel good because he didn't. It's not hurt.
Southern's a good hitting team, though, right? I mean, I know he struggled, but
Southern's not a good hitting team. They're fine for Southern, but they're not a good hitting team compared to A&M or Ole Miss. Like it's apples and oranges. But he's got the goods. Everyone saw it in the fall. I don't know if he gave up a run in the fall. And Paul Mainieri compared him to Lang and Nola and put him in the 2-hole right out of the gate.
Yeah.
We've seen it. We've seen the 94-mile-an-hour fastball. We've seen the command. We've seen the slider. And we saw it against Northwestern State a couple of weeks ago. It's in there, but right now he's battling back. And the most important thing is that his arm feels okay. And if it does, then he's going to help down the stretch.
LSU go 2 or 3 this weekend?
This is a tough assignment. With the left-handed pitching, which has tied LSU in knots this year, and with the weather, which I think is a big deal, it's going to be a tough assignment, but I think they'll get 2.
Hunt Palmer, we'll talk basketball next to close out hour 1.
I just sense, based on the way this thing is played out, that LSU would prefer to keep Will Wade around. And if given that opportunity, they're going to do it. So that's my hope, but obviously I don't know what anybody knows. So
that's the thing, though. They have the opportunity, right? Like they've had the opportunity this entire time. There was from day one, there's been nothing wrong with them bringing him back, and then if something damning comes out in the court case, being like, oh, well, all right, now,
that's how I would have liked it to be handled, but it wasn't.
Okay, now we got to move on. Like, you can still do that today. And likely, I imagine that's actually how today's meeting will go down. They're going to need Wade's lawyer to give them something on the record as like, my guy's good to go, or he should. They just need Wade's side to put something on the record so that else you can justify bringing him back, and then they have to part ways later. They can part ways later.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think with his announcement, if he is reinstated, I think you get Mays, Williams, and Javonte Smart back.
I do too. I mean, I think that,
and I think that is a message to the administration.
That is a woke take, and I love it. I'm not sure how accurate it is, but I love it. I love the thought of that. But I think I know those guys know they're not getting drafted. And there are ways to make money and even to get to the NBA without being drafted.
That's the thing. I mean, even G League now, there's been a huge reinvestment in G League. Like, you don't even have to go overseas necessarily.
Look at Antonio Blakeney and
Brandon Sampson.
And look at Brandon Sampson. And if you can hook on with a team that's tanking and has no players, you can get on the squad. You drop 30 in a G League game for the Bulls. We don't have anybody else. Come on up. Here's a 10-day contract. Like, sure. So there are ways to get up and do it, but I some of it doesn't make a ton of sense. Although there is not a downside to Skylar Mays declaring for the draft. The thing that's a little bit different about this is it's like Tremont didn't put on Instagram that he loved his time at LSU and was looking forward to the next chapter. He just said, I'm going to go put my name in the draft and go work out. These guys have kind of made a little bit more of a production of it. I don't know what to make of that, but
I do. They're sending a message to somebody.
That's it.
I mean, like, you don't believe that?
I mean, I see it, but it's.
I mean,
it just
think about
seems
going to your job every day, and you don't have a boss.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that would be cool for about 2 weeks, and then like 2.5 weeks in, you're like, all right, what's going on? What are we doing? What's our purpose? What's our objective? What happens next year? What's our outlook? You know, what I mean, like, these are questions that these kids, that these student athletes have.
But do we think that the administration has reacted to that? I mean, I don't.
No, I don't think that they have reacted, because I think that the meeting has been set.
Exactly.
You know, but I think that they may be sending a message into the meeting like, look, if whatever decision comes from today, you better be prepared to restore your basketball program, because right now, I mean, like, if they remove Will Wade, and that potentially could happen, you know, Darius
Days and the URAC kids.
But Hunt, he's going to file for a hardship, and he's going to go back to the state of Florida, and he's going to play for Leonard Hamilton. He's going to play for Mike White. He's going to play somewhere in his home state, and he's going to receive that hardship. I mean, if Tate Martell can get a hardship because he doesn't want to compete
that precedent's
at Ohio
terrible.
State, then you know what? Darius Days is going to get a hardship to go play in his home state because they fired the head coach. So, I mean, like, it will be a fire sale on LSU's roster.
So to play a little devil's advocate here, though, it's like, if these guys are just testing the waters, why then the full-out announcement style that all their announcements read as kind of final? You know what I'm saying, in terms of
that plays to Jordy's point.
That's exactly what I'm saying. They're sending the message up top, but they're not telling you that they signed with an agent like Nas and Tremont.
But you can
did.
sign with an agent.
You can.
And you can go through the whole thing.
You can get consultation, and that's that. I believe that's part of it. I don't think that that's the entire. I mean, I think that those guys believe, like Skylar told us yesterday, or told us 2 nights ago. I mean, the reason behind his decision is because the love of the game. You know what I mean? Like, he's put his heart and soul into the game of basketball since, I believe he told us he was 4 years old.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Who are we to tell him, like, hey, man, go test it, go see. You know, but I think, like you said, deep down he knows it's going to be very difficult for him to be drafted within 60 picks.
Well, there's no chance, because he doesn't have elite quickness, and he is a poor shooter at this point. I mean, statistically, just look at it. I had confidence when he rose up and shot it, but he shot like 25% from three in SEC play. So it's just not gonna happen. But you're correct in that there is a crossroads here for over the next 30 days for LSU's basketball program. It's either going to disintegrate or continue the momentum that has been built, and we'll just have to sit back and see what happens.
We'll see. Something should shake up today. I mean, you know, you would think that a meeting today between both sides, that they can get a resolution to restore, like I said, man, restore order back for their basketball program. Because
we don't say restore order, dude.
Little Barrett Jones action there.
Yeah, like, calm down, dude. I know you loved having Barrett Jones on every week this last fall, but chill out a little bit.
Great segment.
Actually, it used to be after Hunt.
Free Beer Friday here on Off the Bench. Jump inside the huddle, driven by the Bayou Ford Group.
Hunt, what are you doing for the Masters today, man?
I'm playing a little golf today, but I will be locked into the Masters this weekend. A little disappointed in my guy Spieth. I thought he was going to show up.
Yeah, he's done, right?
But Tiger is on the prowl, and I need him in the hunt on Sunday. He didn't make anything yesterday and shot 2 under.
He left 3 shots on the course that I can recall off the top of my head.
Yeah. On the front 9, he missed 3 putts inside 5 feet.
Come on, man. Come on. I don't think he can do it, though. I don't
He
have
can.
the confidence.
He hits it so good, but his putter
His
will
putter lets him
betray.
down.
He needs old Brooksy needs to back up a little bit. That guy can get going.
So
and
did I
nobody
read this
can play
right that
with him.
Koepka has won 3 of the last 4 majors?
3 last 6. I think that he's competed. That's what
he
somebody
missed
said.
the
in the
He didn't play in the Masters last year. He was hurt, but he's really good. I mean, he putts it, he hits it straight, he hits it a mile. I mean, he can play. When he gets it going, he's as good as anybody.
What do y'all think about this nickname for Affy Barnrat?
Cavendish?
Oh yeah, the Colossus of Clouds. There's a
green-
bunch of great vaping pictures
green
of Affy
jacket.
Barnrat. Oh, there you go. Look right there on the
Boy.
stream, 1045ESPN.com. That
If that guy wins the Masters, the Green Jackets are going to be furious.
is furious, dude.
You
gotta speak
cannot
English,
have
right?
a guy ripping clouds at the Champions Dinner.
You can.
Kinda makes me wanna
You
pull for
can,
him.
and you will. I know who
wanna
I'm
pull
cheering
for
for. Somebody call the Overcast Vapor Lounge. We got their guy right there. Musso, get those. Know those are your guys. Shout out to Kirdish.
Hour 2 coming at you. We'll lead you off with second lines. Good luck today on the course. Enjoy
Appreciate
the
it.
weekend, and we'll talk to you next Friday. There's
All right,
Hunt
guys.
Palmer with us every Friday here on Off the Bench. We will lead off hour 2 for you with your second lines. ADL bringing you those second lines. Come back with us.